Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Minecraft Disney World Q&A. It's the series in which you send me your Q's regarding Disney, anything Disney, theme parks, movies, you name it, and I give you my A's. Today, we're going to be actually wandering around the Animal Kingdom, which has just recently opened on MC Magic. They still have a lot of work to do, but they do have a couple of rides open in a couple of areas. Look, there's somebody coming here to enjoy it already. I mean, it's a popular spot, and we're going to walk around and talk about Disney a little bit. So let's jump right in. This week's first question comes from user Kop, who asks, can you discuss the new additions to the classic Disney resorts closest to the Magic Kingdom, like the Grand Floridian Polynesian? I read Disney is expanding these resorts to accommodate Disney Vacation Club members. Will this be exclusive to DVC members only? So Kay is referring to the villas, which are going to be opening at some point soon, I think, for the Grand Floridian, and then the construction that's beginning on villas at the Polynesian. And from what I've read, they are going to be exclusive for DVC members, which is the Vacation Club and sort of like a timeshare at Disney. It seems that way, similar to the DVC area at the Contemporary. Now, does that mean it will be DVC exclusive forever? Who knows, right? Never say never. DVC is based on this concept of selling timeshares to people who visit Disney often enough. And, you know, there could always be a future in which that business is on the decline and you end up with all of these rooms, and then maybe they open it up to general guests. But I don't think there are any planned time frames as to opening that up to normal guests. That said, I mean, you're talking about like the three upper class, I think, resorts at Walt Disney World. So even if you go to the normal rooms, I think you're going to get a very nice, classy experience. Here we have the Tree of Life. Look at that. Fantastic. We're going to head over to Expedition Everest. Our next question comes from Joshua, who asks, what are some patriotic attributes Disney World has done or has? For example, the Magic Kingdom has a ceremony every day at 5 o'clock at Main Street. So I think what Joshua is talking about is, I guess, patriotic events. For instance, they have the flag ceremony on Main Street every day. And actually, if you're a serving member of the military or a veteran, they'll actually give you the chance to take part in that ceremony, which is really cool. Disney has a couple of things. I know Disney has a resort called Shades of Green, which is sort of specially made for veterans or people serving in the military. There is a water parade, I think, every night on the Seven Seas Lagoon, which actually, I don't know what the schedule is for it, but I know the last time I was there, leaving Magic Kingdom after Wishes, we caught it while waiting for the boats back to our resort, and it sort of has a very patriotic theme to it. So is this person, I got like a follower, and I'm not even on my Rob Plays name, so they're just following me around. So there are things like that. I mean, Walt, as anybody would know who looks into Walt's history, he was a very patriotic person. He loved America. I think you see that through the fact that, you know, he pioneered animatronics with, you know, great moments with Mr. Lincoln for the Illinois Pavilion at the World's Fair. And you've got the Hall of Presidents, and you've got Liberty Square. And I think all of these are sort of testaments to how much Walt loved America. So I think you still see some of that come through today. Our next question comes from Disney Lover 71, who says, is the movie Escape from Tomorrow a parody of Disney, or is it just filmed there? So if you're unaware, Escape from Tomorrow is an independent film made completely independent from Disney. Disney has no involvement in it, and it is a thriller / horror / like trippy indie film that takes place at Disney World, and it was filmed at Disney World, and Disney had absolutely no knowledge of the filming. And I think that's why it's sort of in the news and why it's big news, is because they managed to shoot this feature film under the nose of Disney, and they never knew. They never knew what was going on. They had a lot of tricks to pull that off, and they actually cut some corners. They did some shooting in Disneyland and cut it to make it look like Disney World, which I think anybody who's been to the parks would tell the difference. But like, it works for the film. Unfortunately, I've seen the film, and I have to say I don't think it's very good. I think it's kind of a lousy film. It's trippy, that's for sure. I think it's one of those movies that is in the news more for... You gonna hop in, buddy? Hop in. Quick, hurry. You're gonna miss out. Come on, just right click. There we go. What about you, Angel Wings? You hop in? Run at it? Nope, guess not. I think it's a movie that's more well known for its production values of being shot guerrilla style at Disney than for the actual story. The story, I mean, without spoiling anything, is about a man who's on vacation with his family at Disney, and he just got laid off from his job. That's like that's how the movie opens, and he just sort of goes through sort of a weird crisis at Disney, both personally, and then weird stuff starts to happen. I found it to be soulless, and I think a big problem is they use Disney as a backdrop, I think, to sort of create this very cynical outlook of theme parks and Disney World in particular. And the problem is it doesn't seem genuine because from a legal standpoint, they couldn't use any Disney music. So imagine, this black and white footage of It's a Small World using like generic amusement park music. It just seemed very off. It didn't have any of the, Disney soul. Oh, did he really do that? Why would you do that? That's so mean. That's a no-no, by the way, at MC Magic. Don't do that. There we go. So you've got all this Disney imagery, but you don't have any Disney audio. It just doesn't feel like Disney. Oh, look, he's breaking all the others. This guy's being uncool. And so it doesn't get across this message of this cynical anti-Disney, anti-corporate message, or at least it doesn't seem to work as well as it should because it just doesn't feel like Disney. So I wouldn't suggest, if you see it on Netflix streaming or something, you get the chance to see it for free, I guess give it a shot, but I wouldn't pay money to see it personally. But good question. And I'm glad I could clear that up because I know a lot of people have talked about it and it's not very clear what it is. A lot of people thought it was a legit Disney movie. Anyway, our next question comes from Alan MGM, who says, I noticed that the Disney princesses have princesses almost all over the world. They only need an Asian and a Mexican princess to have princesses from the entire world. Do you think that Disney princesses is a way in which Disney gets people from around the world to go watch their movies, buy their products, etc., to get more money, or what? So first off, as fellow subscriber Wekar pointed out, there is an Asian princess. It's Mulan. And there is Pocahontas, who is a Native American princess, who, Mexico is part of North America. So, while she's not a Mexican princess, she is native to North America. So those fields are covered. Now, to answer your question, what happened there? I feel like that's a very cynical way, I feel, of looking at it, that they're picking nationalities solely for the monetary gain. I don't think that's the case because when you're oh boy, this fantastic sound effects of this ride. When you're talking about a global company like Disney, global profits matter, and so they don't want a story that's going to appeal to just one specific region or demographic. They want a story that's universal, and the best way to do that is to have a good story. Look at this, he's coming. Nope, can't catch up. I'm out of here. See, this is what happens when you break carts. You get left behind. Sorry. You want stories with universal appeal, and I think a lot of great Disney films have that. And so I think perhaps they pick different regions intentionally to keep stories fresh because, a good aspect of good storytelling is that you can replace all of the variables such as location and characters and still have a good story. Star Wars could take place in the past and you replace, a galactic empire with an actual, earthly empire and you still have a great story. So it could be possible that they vary, the specifics of some of these stories just to make it keep it fresh so people want to see these new movies and it's not overdoing it. Certainly, I would imagine we would be a little bored if, Mulan came out and then every movie after that took place in Asia, right? So you keep things interesting and mix it up a bit. But I don't think profits. I mean, I guess profits, their company profits are their sole motivator to begin with, but I think there's more to it than that. And see, this is how you become a Yeti, an Expedition Everest. You break blocks and then you get stuck on the track, and now he's got to live in there forever as the Yeti. Anyway, next question. Anthony Studios asks, how much did it cost to make Epcot? And what's your opinion on the future of the Extinct Wonders of Life Pavilion? I love this question because it's a little bit of Disney history, and it's a little bit of speculation. So first, to answer your question, the estimates that we have best put together on Epcot's initial construction are anywhere from $800 million to $1.4 billion. Now, you have to understand, when Epcot was being built at the time, it was the largest construction project ever in the world, ever. I'm sure since then there have been larger projects, but I mean, that just shows you the scope. It was heavily over budget. And, the final price tag, if you wanted to go up to today, would probably be a lot higher when you account for all of the new attractions, new pavilions, things like that. But yeah, $800 million to $1.4 billion, which is just bananas. That's so much money. But today, that would be, I mean, how much did they pay for Star Wars? I think they paid more than that for Star Wars. I may be crazy. It's been a whole year. But what do I think about the Wonders of Life Pavilion? I think they should definitely redo it, bring back some attractions, keep the theme. I think the idea of tying together the future and our bodies is a very important one, especially today, because we're getting closer and closer to a world where technology and biology are becoming one. We've got people with prosthetics that are, that can be controlled with your mind, like with signals from your brain. We're working on, prosthetic eyes that can allow the viewer, the user to see. Beyond that, you're seeing technology used in such creative and great ways to help with health. For instance, when I got into running personally, a big help was downloading an app on my phone that told me where to run, how much to run and what days to run. So I think the topic of health and technology is just becoming so much more relevant every year. And so to have a pavilion that sort of celebrates that and speculates on the future of that would be very important. So I really think we should see a Wonders of Life. I think the Wonders of Life classically, if you don't remember, it was a lot more focused on just the body in general and maybe using technology to learn more about the body. But I would love to see a focus on using technology to help the body, beyond just medicine, but the ways we're using tech today. I think that would be fantastic. I would love to see it come back and, beyond health in terms of, an aid to improve your health. You got things like Google Glass as a first step. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but, Google Glass, which are the glasses that sort of superimpose your phone's interface over your eye, that's step one. Then step two is a contact lens. And before you know it, you've got this technology embedded into you physically, and, it becomes one. I think it seems so silly because we're raised on sci-fi cliches, but the concept of cyborgs is not so far-fetched. The second we have a person who's seeing with digital eyes that are prosthetics, they are, by definition, that's a cyborg, So I think we should have a pavilion that explores that. Great question. Our next question comes from OKC Max, who also has an Epcot question. We're going to go into Dinosaur. This ride is not fully completed. The queue seems to be mostly done, and there's a lot of the ride is done, but there's still some detail to be put in, it seems. Anyway, Max asks, question for the next video. What if Horizons came back and promoted a new retro Epcot that was to replace the current Epcot? I would be actually really bummed by that, Max. I loved Horizons. I loved Horizons so much, and I would love a way to relive Horizons. but I don't want Horizons at Disney. Because Epcot at its soul is about the future and progress, and Walt Disney World and Walt Disney's goals with Disneyland were to create an ever-changing and an ever-advancing park. So to rebuild an old ride and to put a focus on old rides that we've gotten rid of for, frankly, a lot of times good reasons, seems backwards to me. It's a step back, and it seems to not honor Walt's dream. So I wouldn't want that. What I do want to see in place of that is I would love to see Disney acknowledge the fandom of, these Disney fanatics like myself by providing a complete way to relive a ride that closes or an attraction that closes. I've always wondered why they don't do this. Like Horizons, for instance, when that closed, I would have genuinely paid money for a Horizons kit. And this kit could have been like a nice hardcover book that details like the history of Horizons and the building of Horizons, maybe a lot of photos of the construction of Horizons, along with like a Blu-ray or a DVD of like a complete ride through of Horizons, so you could watch it whenever you want. Maybe like a CD or an MP3 set of like the soundtrack of Horizon, just like a complete documentation of the ride. And then like if you want to get really crazy, sell an extra expensive version that has like a little piece of the ride that is in limited quantities. I think that would be fantastic. It'd be a great way for fans to take a piece of the ride home with them and enjoy it and relive it whenever they want. And it allows Disney to pull in some extra revenue with the closing of an attraction that is essentially, we're closing because it's not, generating revenue anymore. And, it makes room for tomorrow. I think that would be a great idea. Disney, if you're listening, that idea is for free. Just give me an email, shoot me an email, we'll talk, and, I'll give you a bunch of more great ideas. Our next question is from Sunny Dip 1, who asks, do you think Disney will ever reach a point where the old classics like Dumbo will be replaced with stuff like Avatar Land? Do I think so? I think possibly. It's hard to imagine, right? Disney sort of, with Disneyland, revolutionized. This is a long pre-show, and I have my HUD turned off. I'm sorry. They sort of revolutionized the concept of a theme park, right? And it's been, 50, 60 years? Disney opened 55. Yeah, so, it's been a long time, but in the big picture of things, how long will theme parks go on is a tough question. Like, maybe I do think there might be a day where they might get rid of Dumbo. I don't think any one ride is too sacred for a company to remove. Now, that said, Dumbo specifically, I think that'll be around for a while. Just the fact that there are 2 Dumbos now, there's the Aladdin's Magic Carpet, there's Astro Orbiter, like that ride format works. There's no debating that. It's a popular ride format. It's safe for families and kids. So I don't think that'll go anywhere. But I don't think like any Disney property like Dumbo or Cinderella or like anything like that is too sacred for being upgraded or changed, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. It depends on your outlook. You have to remember, we grew up with certain properties like Dumbo, and you have fond memories of it. But, when you look at kids today, Dumbo might not be entirely relevant to them. And so you have to think about whose experience you're catering towards. Hopefully it's a mix, but, if you don't change things, then you end up with a park for, a bunch of old people, and all the young kids go somewhere else. So you got to keep it relevant, which is why I've never found myself complaining about, replacing attractions with something, with a younger property like, Kim Possible and then the Phineas and Ferb, those adventures in Epcot. Like, I think that's great. I don't really watch any of those shows, so I don't relate to them, but I know there are kids who do, and so I think it's great that they throw that in there. And then our final question for the week comes from Pelican Productions, who says, hey, Rob, what do you think? I love this question, by the way, because it's not directly Disney related, but now because of purchasing reasons, it is a Disney question. He says, hey, Rob, what do you think of the new Star Wars movies? What do you think they'll be about? Do you think they will bring back some of the old characters like Luke and Han Solo? Great question. What do I think they'll be about? I have no idea, and I can't even begin to guess. And I think that's what I love about waiting for these movies. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I saw the originals when I was a young kid, not in theaters, obviously, I'm not that old, but I grew up with them on VHS, and then, I saw episode 1 in theaters, and 2 in theaters, and 3 in theaters, and at the time I loved them, but as I grew up, I saw all of the flaws within them, and I don't enjoy them as much anymore, but I still love looking forward to that stuff. Like, I remember the prequel trilogy, despite being disappointed 3 times in a row, I loved waiting and just like fawning over every little detail that came out and guessing and counting down the days. And I have fond memories. Episode 3 came out, I saw it at midnight, and then I had to go to school. It was my senior year of high school, and then I went to school that day, even though I had barely gotten any sleep because I went to the midnight showing. And then after school, I went and saw it again. And then I ended up seeing it a 3rd time later that week. Like, I was so into it. And at the time, the thought of them selling Disney was just completely unfathomable, because Lucas, for a long time, his stance was, I'm taking these to the grave with me. So in my mind, I remember episode 3 was like, oh, this is it. This is the end of Star Wars, and I get to experience it. And the fact that I get to do it again is so fantastic, and just, it gives you a perspective because I get to look back. So I'm like, I guess to get to your question, I don't know what it's going to be about, and I'm not even going to try to guess because I love waiting and seeing. I've heard a lot of rumblings about getting Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher back on board in some respects. I hope if they're in there, it's as a tasteful cameo and they're not like main characters. I think they've gotten sort of older, and I think Luke Skywalker's story is over. It's been told, it's complete, and while he exists in that universe and should have a part in that universe, I don't think he should be the focus point. Same thing with Han, and like, they all had closure in episode 6, so I don't think they need to be a major part of episode 7. But of course there needs to be some fan service, so I would love to see them, even if it's just like one scene to find out what happens to them. Anyway, that has been the Minecraft Disney World Q&A. If you have a question for me regarding Disney, whether it's the theme parks or the history of Walt himself, or a question about rides or animations, feel free to leave it in the comments. I try to get to everyone. Even if I don't get to it here in the video, I try to at least answer in the YouTube comments, although YouTube this past week has certainly changed the system enough to make that extremely difficult for me to do. So I apologize if I seem a little distant or absent in the next couple of weeks, because I'm just trying to wrap my head around this new commenting system. I hope you have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing. Make the most of it, because it makes it so much better. And I hope to see you all here next week for the next episode of the Minecraft Disney World Q&A. Bye, everybody.